week in a conversation, I have the privilege to welcome once more prolific author, distinguished professor Mary Palmer. This time we'll talk about her new collection of short stories and essays under the title of Commas. Very interesting collection we're going to be talking about. But before we do so, I just want to take a short moment to let you know about my upcoming new novel. It's been some time since I've published a novel. Actually, it's since 2015 when I published Midnight at Noon. But this time it's going to be something a little bit different, but still within the same theme of social justice. But it's an immigrant journey. So I plan on giving you bits and pieces up until the release date, which has not been finalized yet. But the title of it is Bittersweet Memories of Last Spring. That's my new novel, and I'm excited about it. And I'm asking all viewers, all fans and friends who have been very supportive of this literary show, The Conversation, and also to show to express that support also, and getting a copy of the new book when it's released. Okay, and of course, as I always do, I'm encouraging you, those of you who haven't subscribed to The Conversation, to do so. And if you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, it's going to you as soon as possible. Remember, like if you think this conversation is of some interest to you. Just let me know also in the comment box at the bottom of the video. Don't forget again, Bittersweet Memories of Last Spring. Forthcoming. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here this evening with a very familiar face. I'm here with author Mary Palmer. If you remember, I've had her twice in the conversation, but she's so prolific and she's so compelling. She's back again tonight. We're going to be speaking about her beautiful collection of short stories titled Commas. And Mary, welcome to the conversation again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and you're always such a good host, and it's fun to be on your program. And
okay. All right, you know, Mary, this collection really catches my attention in many ways because you touch some pretty soulful and profound issues when it comes to human interactions. So there's something you say, and I just want to read it. You say that this collection of essays and short stories is designed to show the positive side of human interaction, the good things we all share as human beings, which are compassion, forgiveness, hope, courage, generosity, and faith. So why did you feel so compelled to choose a theme like this?
Well, my idea was not just to write a book, and it was sort of interesting how it started. And I would like to go over just a few categories to give you an idea, and then I'll explain that.
Okay.
It starts out with spots of time where we all have sections of our life that we remember and different things that happen. And I think it's when you record them, then it's there for posterity. If you don't put them down, then people forget them. Even if you write them down, they forget them too. Then I talked about something a category called School Days, SCHOOLDACE. And there's always things in our school days, and I kind of went through these in periods of time, grades, because you grow as you get older, and
right.
Things happen, and interesting things happen, and you remember certain teachers and things with your friends, and you look back on them, and did I do that?
Right.
And
right.
then I had one that is called influence, and I think people influence each other more than we know, so we should be careful what we do.
Mhm.
I kind of wanted to explore the power of our influence on other people and
Right.
their influence on us. And one of them is very short that I'd like to read is a little poem,
Okay.
and it's called That's Okay. And being a college teacher, you run into all different types of people and you wonder where they're coming from and why. And this poem sort of expresses my thoughts on the matter.
Okay.
When Johnny was a little boy and didn't tie his shoes, his mother said, "That's okay, son, I'll do it for you." Then as a teenager, he ended up in jail. His father said, "That's okay, son, I'll put up your bail." Later on in college, when his essays were not good, his teacher said, "That's okay, John, you did the best you could." When Johnny tried to get a job, though, he couldn't figure why. Nobody told him it's okay to barely just get by. He'd learned it from his mother, his teacher, and his dad. Too bad nobody told him mediocrity is bad, is sad. It won't get you any place in life that's where you want to be.
Right.
Achievement comes to those who take responsibility. So if you really want success, you need to do your best and not accept what's just okay on any of life's tests.
Mhm.
And I think if you don't have motivation in your life, and if you don't try your best and get by just by your wits or not doing any more than you absolutely have to, then you're cheating yourself as well as
That's true.
others. And I think it was interesting how this book started. I believe, can you see the cover?
Can I see it? Can you raise it?
Okay.
Wow. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I was out at South Alabama in college and writing another book. And it was so funny. This young man stood behind me. I was sitting at the computer. It was a long time ago, so they were bigger than they are now. And he just stood there a few minutes and he said, "I could write a book if I knew where to put the commas." And I thought, that's all there is to it. You know, because people that don't write books, a lot of people do know, but some of them don't realize that you have to edit, and that you have to revise, and you have to get it printed, and you've got to get a publisher. They just think you write a book. So it was really odd. And when I heard that expression, I couldn't wait. And I started assembling my own songs and poems, and that's the way they got compiled. But the idea, another thing was, one of them is about a young man in my college class, and he was very much a problem. He sat in the back, and everything I said or anybody said was wrong. He just was negative. And then I asked him, didn't ask him, but I had the class write a book about, a poem rather, not a book, a poem about how somebody influenced you. I said, "You tell me you can't write a poem, but you love songs. So I know you have to make it rhyme, but it has to have rhythm. It's got to have a beat." So he asked me first, though, he's kind of write something negative. I said, "Yes."
Right.
So he wrote about all his disappointments in his father and told about it in a way I said, "You're going to have to read it." And he read it. After that day, it was like a catharsis. He never was a problem anymore. And at the end of the semester, he came over and hugged me, and he was really just, a friend. I think he just needed to get it out of his system. And then it was, he lived with it. He was, grown practically. He was 18.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I have a question for you. You say that by comparing commas to poises in life, it should inspire people to think about what is truly important.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, Mary, what is the difference between commas and poises in life?
Okay, a comma in the front of this book, I believe I used all the punctuation marks and compared them to, like, a period would be a stop sign, a comma would be a yield, and things of that nature.
Right.
And I think commas, if you really use commas properly and you read a sentence out loud, you can hear where they would go, can't you? But if you don't, then you go through and you don't pause. So you miss smelling the roses. And so a comma would be like a pause, and a pause in life would be something when you're more or less reflecting on things. And
And you
then,
know what? There's something you say over here, and I like very much. And you say that uh, we can only truly enjoy life if we recognize the signs telling us when to listen and when to speak. Could you
okay,
please elaborate on that and give our viewers a bit more deeper lesson into this?
okay, I would love to, because I always think about the question: do you learn more listening or talking? And usually I get the right answer. You learn more when you're listening, but 90% of us, myself included, while somebody's talking, you're thinking about what you're going to say, your rebuttal, or your agreement, or whatever. And we're
Right,
not really concentrating on what they're saying. So if we
right,
concentrated a little more on what the other person has to say, it would really benefit us. And I think a few people are very good listeners,
right,
and I think they are wise. And
right.
I think you can, you can learn something from almost anybody. Everybody
Right.
knows something you don't. And I told someone just the other day, they were talking about using a word in a book we're currently writing, one with Paul II in the series Mississippi Mojo. And I used the word malapropism. And one of the readers, a beta reader, and another person thought it was too big a word. It was too flowery. And I know you don't want flowery, pretentious words, but my argument is that I can look in the dictionary any day and any page and find a word I don't know. But if I'm reading something, I want to have to look up some words.
Exactly.
I think it's important. I mean, we could say, instead of that word, we could have said different from the normal. And
Exactly.
then this person said, well, why don't you explain what it means? I said, that's patronizing the reader. And I don't think readers want to be patronized. And
No.
when I find a word like that, I feel like the book's giving me something extra. Yeah, I don't believe in all this flowery language and pretentious stuff where you have every sentence full of words that you've looked them up, and half the time people misuse them when they do that. Once in a while, I think it's, what would you say to that?
Well,
Put you on the
actually,
spot.
exactly. And you know what? People don't, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that reading also is a learning process. You read because you want to learn, because you want to know more, whatever subject that is.
Yeah.
It is an intellectual process, that teases the mind,
Okay.
which at the end of the day, it's going to make you wiser, more knowledgeable about the subject matter.
So you would say it's okay to use a word like that in books, rather than just making it simple language. I mean, I don't want to talk.
I mean, I don't believe in simple language, because if I, knowing my background as a professor, as you are also, so from that perspective, so we expect always something much more deeper in our reading journey. But that's why we usually tend to see when something is written too lightly. So it has become lesser of an appreciation as far as you and I are concerned.
Yeah. And if you look it up, chances are you're going to remember it. I don't know about you, but every now and then there's a word that I can't remember. I have to look it up every time I see it. It's just something that doesn't stick in your brain. Most of the time, words like that, you're gonna remember it. And then when I ask students, do you know what this word means? Oh, I know, but I can't tell you. I said, then you don't really know. You just know the surface meaning. You don't know the connotations or the other meanings of the word. So make sure you can explain it, and that means, define it, and that means you really do know what it means. But I think people like challenges too.
Of course they do. Exactly. And so that's why I'm saying, when something is written too lightly, it might not really get its full potential, because readers also want to be challenged as they read.
I think so too. And one of the things I do about these particular stories, I don't usually tell which ones are true and which ones are not, although most of them are true. But some of them may be made up. Lots of them have to be embellished, and some of them are kind of sad and touching. Did you happen to remember. Let me see what I called that one. Oh no, it was the one about the child in the shirt.
Okay.
And he said his mother made the shirt. I don't want to give away the surprise, but I just wondered if you remembered it. I'm trying to look.
I don't remember this one, but there's something you say here, and you can just go ahead and read it, and then we'll talk about it in a minute.
Okay, I'm gonna read one other one that's very short.
Okay.
I think it would be kind of significant to some of the style, let's say.
Okay.
It's called Profession.
Okay.
She stood on the street corner, leaning against the wall with the paint peeling off, and paused to reflect on her profession as she puffed on a cigarette marked with cherry red lipstick. After struggling to put me through college, if my mother knew what I do for a living, she'd die, Clara thought, tugging at the hem of her red satin miniskirt. A man at the doorway hawking the club next door mouthed a move on, but she ignored it.
Mhm.
As she turned her back on him, her high heel caught in a crack in the sidewalk. Damn, she said aloud, thinking that Bourbon Street had changed very little through the years. Not once had the sidewalks been repaired. Just then, a man with a scraggly beard staggered across the street and walked straight up to her until their noses almost touched. How much, he stammered, dragging a crumpled $20 bill from his pocket. His foul-smelling breath almost made Clara gag, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she looked him straight in the eye, smiling as she pulled a police badge out of her black silk purse.
That's interesting. That's interesting. What inspired you to write this one?
That particular, for humor, I wanted a little comic relief amongst some of the stories that were mysterious.
Okay.
I hope that it's written in such a way that everybody gets it and it's showing, not telling anything, you know. I think those, they intrigue me when I'm reading the story. I like something that has a twist. And you know, she wasn't what a mother would have thought, but a mother still might not like what she did. So I think that works, and I think that the compilation of stories has a wide, should appeal to a wide audience because there's just so many different things in there. Some of them are serious and some of them about 9/11 in New York, and I did see it before when the towers were there and when the towers were gone. And you get a certain feeling about something that traumatic when you go back and see the two buildings and each of them had their own zip code and they were gone. And it's just, you know, inspirational. And so you don't want to just dwell on all of that. You want other things to lighten it up a little bit, I think.
There's something you say here. I just want to also, let me just read just a little passage.
Sure.
You say, just as it's important in writing to keep sentences, varied in structure and in length, it's important to keep life varied in the structure and length of experiences. This is very deep.
Thank you.
Can you please give us some practical, explain that in practical terms, for example?
Okay, I can tell you, because I like to do a lot of different things. I don't write in one genre, for one thing.
Okay.
And, like a lot of people, I was out of school and went back to school and had no intention of teaching, and it sort of fell in my lap. And another thing, though, that really illustrates that is that my husband and I wanted to travel a lot, so I only taught adjunct for a long time. And so we went to every state and to all the continents except Antarctica, and he said it was too cold. We made friends. I took extended course in French. French was my minor, and I took that in France and made friends with the family, and they came here, and I went there about 6 or 7 times. And then the last thing I did in a big trip to Tahiti, I went parasailing, and I was surprised I even did it, but they take you up 600 feet over in Bora Bora, but between two mountains. And I kept thinking, well, they only have one rope, but if they had two, they'd probably tangle. But I like to be adventurous. However, let me say this, I'm the only one in my family that never water skied. So I didn't try to do that. I just not real comfortable around the water. But I think if you do different things and have different experiences, and I think definitely you need to meet people out of your realm. I think you need to mix with people of all cultures and everything to really get the feel and to try to understand how they feel. That's what I try to do in my stories, to actually have empathy, not sympathy, but empathy for people who are different from me or who are like me. And then I think you can get you can see good in everybody, and you should look for that. There's horrible things going on in this world today, and all the children getting killed and all that's horrible, but you have to look for the good in people, and you've got to believe it's more good than bad.
That's true. And that ultimately, that's what will keep us going. You know? Because if we all fall in sort of a dark narrative, then all you'll get, you know, it's simply just a prolonged darkness, which will effectively block your sight. Cognitively, I'm talking.
That's all you start looking for it, and you're negative, not positive, and you're a pessimist, not an optimist. And
correct.
I think that's bad. And you know, you and I both know people, I'm sure, that start every sentence with, "Oh, that made me so angry," or something like that. You know, every conversation is starting out in a negative way. But if you look for trouble, you'll find it. And sometimes you just have to try to overlook the bad in the world. And you have to have some kind of center, whatever your belief religiously is. I think you have to have some kind of a center, somebody to turn to that's not of this realm. So I think that gives you somewhere to go. If there's trouble.
Let me ask you something. I know this collection has already been published. And do you plan on having a tour? Touring at least the area where you are around New Orleans and the Gulf Coast area, promoting the book?
Oh yes, well, I promote this book. I'm working basically. I have 16, 17 published, but I promote Mississippi Mojo right now, and and that. And then sometimes I bring another book along, but I try to stick to 2 or 3, not try to, you can't sell everything. And it's just too hard, but you try to stick to the ones that you're working on the closest at the time. I do anyway. And I'm thinking of a sequel. I don't have enough yet for a sequel for Commas, but I'm working on it. And I may have a sequel for that. As I said, I'm working with Paula Webb on the sequel to Mississippi Mojo. And then, of course, I would like to say a little bit now about Boynton Oak.
Yes. Okay. That's what I was going to ask you, because you only have about 7 more minutes before.
Okay. What we've done, we've had the Boynton Oak Festival every year, and it's gone over big, and we've had busloads of people coming from Foley. And so this year I decided to
Can you raise the book a little bit higher? Exactly.
Okay. And this is the true story. And this young man moved to Mobile in 1833. He was convicted of murdering his best friend. He was hanged at age 19. He said oak tree would grow on his gravesite to prove his innocence. It did. Okay, 2 or 3 things are going on. We had been working on a posthumous pardon, and there was a block and a law to that, so we had to go to 2 legislators, Victor Gaston and Chris Elliott, and the law.
You told me that.
The law has been passed, and so now I've reapplied for this, and we're hoping that will come through. That was a blockage. Okay, then. Besides this, we decided to have a mock trial, and the mock trial is going to be in the first jail that's still there. The tree is still there. The jail house is there. It's been converted to a museum. It doesn't look anything like the jail that had no heat and no windows, but we're going to have a mock trial there. My friend, attorney and former judge, Matt Green, will play the judge, and then we'll have a district attorney who I think is going he talks about his part. He discovered something about his great grandfather at the end of the book. So I'm going to have that
Okay.
going on, and the rest of the actors will have to get. But it's interesting because we got the same busload coming from Foley for this one. It'll be 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, November 5th and 6th. Anybody can come. It's open to the public. I don't have the exact price. I'm thinking around $15 a person. The jail people, the museum people are very, very interested in it, and they're gonna, really participate. And the place has been remodeled, as I said, so it doesn't look like that jail. But it include a tour of the place. So if they want to get in touch with me, individuals or bus tours, they can contact me. Do you have my email address to put it up? Or
of course, yes, I do. I mean, I have it, so we communicate via email, and I will do it again. I also have the flyer. Remember you?
Okay, but that's for the festival.
Oh, that was for the festival.
This is a separate thing. This is just a mock trial. The festival is the whole story, and that's in May. And we've had that 4 times. Next year will be the 3rd annual event. But this is a separate event, just the mock trial. And I'm writing it now, and it's not easy. I'm not a lawyer, but I do have 2 lawyers to consult with. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me about that and get tickets, or if any tour buses want to come, they can just contact me at my email. I'll say it, and then you can put it up. It's MLSP, Mary Lou Sam Paul, 0121@gmail.com. And they're welcome. It doesn't matter what state they're from. And these tour groups love things like this because it's historical and it's true. The trial will have to be embellished because there was no transcripts of the trial. So we have some notes from newspaper clips, but it was kind of like the Wild West in Mobile in 1834. And they only had 3,190 people, and they had a gambling district and everything, so it was not going to be like a trial would be today. But I think it's fun, and we're going to have it outside at the jail.
Okay, that's interesting. That'll be very interesting. My last question before we're running out of time. Now, could you please tell the audience at least a little bit about your next book project, Mary?
Okay, my next book project is the second of 3 books of this. A. Partridge did the cover. He's a singer that's pretty well known and an artist and a sculptor. And he has a unique style that you have to get used to if you don't know him. And this was the story of a man, sheriff, who left Dallas because he flubbed a case, and he moved to Mississippi, to Cleveland, the home of the blues, in order to be in a quiet town. And then a body washed up 60 years later of Goldie Parsons, who was a blues singer. And the next one takes that a step further, where the person finds out she's related to Goldie, and she becomes friends with the woman who has the mojo, Mama Chichi, who has died, but she comes back and stays on the plantation. And then they have complications with the serial killer taking children. And so the story evolves, the second story evolves from there.
From there, okay.
And it's based on actually the singer, about his life, because he became famous with one record. So this is Mama Chichi, and she has the mojo. And this is Sheriff, and that's the singer who was very famous. So his fame continues into the book, the second book, but it's spread out some more, and other characters come into play. So I think that would be fun to read too, because it's based on blues that started with Robert Johnson in Mississippi, but this is fiction. This is not nonfiction. That makes sense?
It does. And on that beautiful note, and I just want to say it's always a pleasure to
thank you so much.
Down and have that conversation with prolific author, distinguished professor, Mary Palmer.